We all love the sound of money, and a $1,500 sign-on bonus sounds even better. That's right, Bellisio Foods of Jackson is offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus to new employees. Receive an extra $100 your first 6 weeks, then $400 after day 90, and $500 after day 180. Don't wait. Apply online at BellisioFoods.com/careers today. That's BellisioFoods.com/careers. Come work for a company who truly values their employees. Come work for Bellisio Foods.
Show some love for the graduating seniors in your life with custom-made gear from Zip Printing in Jackson. Yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, and more. Zip Printing can do it all. Visit yourtotalmedia.shop to browse all of Zip's gear to show your school spirit for the class of 22. Zip also has everything you need for graduation parties like custom photo cards, invitations, and napkins. Call 740-286-3023 or find them on Facebook at Zip Printing Signs and Marketing.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the morning show right here on Main Street TV. Of course, Jennifer here to start off your morning with some of our good friends from the Historical Society and Buckeye Furnace. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. And I guess tell everybody who you are before we get on to anything else, in case they don't know. I figured they do. But
I'm Deanna Stroth.
I'm Mike Stroth.
okay, and you all are... What do you have to do with the Historical Society? Do you have official titles?
Yeah, I do. Well, I guess Mike does too. I'm the secretary treasurer.
Okay.
And I'm on the board of directors.
Okay, very good. So, and we can talk about that in a little bit as far as what you all are up to and maybe your project over on Harding and stuff like that. But before that, we want to talk Buckeye Furnace.
Yeah.
Yes. So you guys have done something, and then there's an event coming up this weekend.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you all have done something cool. You want to tell everybody about that?
Well, yes, we have thought for quite some time that there needed to be a little more friendly presentation of the way Buckeye Furnace worked and so forth. And it's really kind of difficult, even for adults, when they're going and visiting and looking around. So we thought maybe the answer to that would be to go ahead and to write a book, but write it in a younger person's through their eyes.
Sure.
So that's what we did.
Okay, so you all have done this book. I think James has a picture of it there that he can put up there because he knows how to do all that fancy stuff. There it is. And it's called Let's Visit Buckeye Furnace with Sean. And I asked, of course, first off, who is Sean? And Sean is a young man that used to live at Buckeye Furnace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there is not really a Sean.
A young boy.
A young boy that lived at Buckeye Furnace way back when it was actually like working.
Yes.
That's so cool. That's such a good idea. Where did you guys come up with that?
Well, let me preface this by saying this. Since I have known this man 30 plus years, we could be sitting in the living room watching TV. We could be in the car going somewhere, lying in bed just about ready to drift off to sleep. And he'll say, I've got an idea. and I go,
Oh no.
But he's just full of ideas. And so it was his another of his brainstorms.
Another I have an idea thing.
And what made it really kind of come to pass was the fact that I thought I could put it together writing it. But the one thing you must have, especially for younger people, is illustrations.
Sure.
And my loving wife, who is quite an artist in her own right, she provided all the artwork for the book, which that really brought it to life.
Well, very good. Yeah, and if you're able to look through the book, and I don't think James has pictures of all the pages, do you? No, just the front. But if you're looking through the book, it is illustrated. And of course, Miss Deanna did that very well. But it starts with like how Sean came across because he's from Ireland. And then it just shows like, the cabin where he lived and, all of the things that you would have seen if you were actually living there back then. That's really super
I don't
cool.
think people understand that there was a little town, at Buckeye Furnace once upon a time. I wish we had the funding, to create that back the way it was.
Yep. There's
But,
Buckeye Furnace there.
See, those those communities, they at their peak when they were in production, the community around them would be like 400 to 500 people.
Yeah, and I think so.
Excuse me.
There's a little bit of controversy surrounding some of those little communities because some people would say they were organized slavery and that kind of thing. Because you could probably talk about it better than I can, but like a lot of those communities where they brought people in to work these places, these furnaces and whatever, they had their own currency and their own,
exactly
like they were
right.
kind of stuck there, I guess. If
The
that
old
makes any
Tennessee
sense.
Ernie Ford 16 tons, that kind of, brings that back. I owe my soul to the company store. That's really about the truth.
And the
That's right.
script is in the book, an example of Buckeye Furnace script that.
Oh, is it?
Yes, and because those are all important elements. You'll see it on the right-hand page. Yeah. So it's very interesting, and people, they don't really think that there's a lot to it, but it was a quite a involved situation how they worked.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you're talking about somebody organized an entire community, all of the needs that the folks would have, all within its own little spot. So I guess let's back up for a minute and talk about what was Buckeye Furnace? I know you've been here before, but in case people missed it, what did it do?
It was one of 69 charcoal iron furnaces in this region of Ohio, which was kind of unique. And it was all through southern Ohio, central southern Ohio, and it drifted into northern Kentucky. That's where the iron ore was at, and so that's what brought these furnaces into being. And so that's what at the time, and then with the coming of the railroads, when those came where they could get the iron to market in an easy way, not by wagon but train, then they really took off.
Okay. And then, of course, it became just an inefficient kind of way to produce what they needed. And
a new type of, in charcoal iron furnace making, the fuel that is used has to be charcoal, and that has to come from wood. And I
know you don't think charcoal and wood are the same, but they are, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It doesn't seem like it is, but it is.
And it's the vast amounts of wood it took to make iron.
Yeah.
And it was in the early 1860s, I think, it was in England, they discovered that coal, which before could not be used, they found a way to take, and they would actually cook coal and cook the impurities out and use that to make the heat for the iron. And when they did that, the charcoal iron furnace days were over.
Gotcha. Okay. And that makes sense. And so, wow, I have so many questions. So back to the book. So Sean, who's a little boy, how did he get, and we don't want to give away the whole book, but like, how does he get to Buckeye Furnace? Like, how did immigrants, I guess, come over and why to work in Jackson, Ohio?
Well,
and how did they know? I mean, how did they know about it?
Believe it or not, in some
we don't have the internet back then.
No, but the iron furnaces took out ads in English newspapers and Irish, and saying that men were needed.
Oh.
And these people would come over really without really a guarantee of anything. And then they would have to find their own way to travel from the port in New York or Philadelphia, what it may be,
Sure.
all the way down into southern Ohio, which was, at the time when this was underway, it was very stark. There was not that much. So it was kind of a real adventure.
And what year would that have been?
This is around, I think, 1874.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I mean, you're talking about, see, again, they were just flying blind. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into. And then, of course, they get here and then they get, I don't mean to be negative about it, but stuck, for lack of better word, because they go to work at these things and then they're told what they do and what they don't
Makes
do.
you wonder if their lives were better in some way.
I guess that's kind of where I'm going with it. Were they happy when they got here, or were they thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done to my family?
I'd say a little bit of both. And they really had a situation there where I don't think they were made abreast of the fact that when they started making money, the cabins they lived in, they had to rent those
Yes.
from the furnace company.
It was a real good deal for the furnace people.
Oh yeah. And see,
We give you money, you have to give it right back.
and it was only in script, so the only place you could spend it was right there.
Yes.
So you couldn't go to Jackson, say from Buckeye Furnace, and buy anything because no one would honor that.
And each of these communities, if you will, like a really good example right now is Eclipse Town in Athens. So the Eclipse company store is there. And of course, it's not that today, but you can see a really good, can you yank that up, James? Because what they've done is they've took the old the company store and some folks have put a really cool restaurant in it.
Mm-hmm.
And one has nothing to do with the other than they've called it Eclipse because it was in Eclipse Town. But you can see around there. Have you guys not been there before?
No.
There's all the little houses are exactly alike and they're still there and they, people rent them or own them or whatever, but they're all around the store. And then the restaurant is this huge building, but that was Eclipse Town, and that was same thing. They had their own currency, which wasn't valuable anywhere other than at the
right there
company store. And like you think about America, and people came here for opportunities, and oops, there it is. There's the Eclipse company store, and again, as I said, one has nothing to do with the other. They've just taken the old, shall we say, company store and remodeled it. And now it's a really cool barbecue place. And they have a lot of really neat live music. And it's a really cool place if you haven't been out there. It's out near the plains by the high school, kind of.
Well, talking about company stores, anyone who has never visited Buckeye Furnace will find that the company store they have there is completely full of authentic items in the store. So
correct.
So where you go in, you get a pretty good idea of what was there.
I think the only thing I can liken it to would be kind of like Little House on the Prairie, maybe, or something, where that wasn't kind of the same thing, but like that store that had everything that Nellie Olson, Nellie Olson's parents owned, and that's where you went to get everything.
Yeah, your fabric, your sugar, your coffee,
everything was there,
and it was marked up, and so
of course,
you end up, your script buys that, but you,
there it is,
and the company, there it is. And the thing is, the company would let you run tabs. So
I bet they did.
So every month you worked, you go deeper in the hole.
Deeper in
They
debt.
take the rent out and the food, some of the food.
Oh, for the love of God.
And another thing people don't think about, these folks when they came, about the only thing you'd find at these cabins. They would have there'd be enough of an area to have a vegetable garden, and they'd have a lot of times they'd have a couple of hogs that would provide them with meat.
Sure,
but they didn't have horses, so they couldn't leave.
Well, of course they didn't.
They're having such a good time.
Working, their fingers
Going
to the
deeper in
bone and
debt.
going deeper in debt that they couldn't have left anyway because they didn't have any money.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, it really, gosh, man, those companies were brilliant. I don't think that would happen today so
No,
much.
that wouldn't happen
I
today.
think
Well,
so.
as you said, it's not very American.
No, it's the antithesis of what folks, I mean, literally risk their lives to come across the ocean to be here for opportunities, and that is not what they, signed up for.
Well,
So,
see, another important fact, which is really overlooked, is that in check that please, 1894, when Buckeye Furnace finally went out of blast, in other words, closed. Okay, when it closed, you had this whole community here.
yeah.
Okay,
Then
well,
what do they do?
So what did they do? Well, the company pulls out when the store closes,
And they have no money.
but they have to have a place to live. So, luck to them, they had to go ahead and get a job doing something to pay the company the rent to stay in the cabins.
Oh.
And this went on. It's very hard to get a handle on how long that went on, but the companies, I think the truth is, it became harder and harder to catch people to pay the rent.
I see.
I think once a company representative would come in on a horse, everybody'd take off for the hills.
Well, I mean, I don't blame them.
No. Now, and another thing too, a really hard thing to fathom was the fact that in the work that when we out at Buckeye Furnace, out of the clear blue, we ended up getting access to a map that was drawn in 1934. Now
Wow.
this map was done by an architect up at Columbus. No one knew about this map.
Really?
And it had all the buildings that were there when he came out there in 1934, and shows all the locations of cabins, a water mill, ox barn, mule barn. It was
You're
still standing.
kidding.
Now, I'm sure they were in pretty bad shape.
I'd say by then.
but
At least you knew where things were, how it
Yeah.
was set.
How
Absolutely.
fun. And you guys have that.
Yes.
And it can be preserved and that way.
Well, we have a copy of it, and I've redrawn it to get it a little more
So you can see it
usable.
better,
Okay. So that was going to be my next question. Are there, obviously, and we're not trying to shed a bad, we want you all to go out and see Buckeye Furnace because it's part of our history. We're not trying to knock it. I mean, it's part of what made us today. So we, want you guys to go out there, but that is the fact of how it was run. But are there still cabins out there? Is any of that stuff still out there?
No, and it's kind of odd because, not odd, but I suppose that's normal. Once I got the map and could pinpoint things,
Sure, you're like, oh, there should be a foundation
Yes.
right there or something.
and yes, you can find an occasional foundation, but again, there's nothing indicates that there's anything there.
Okay.
So we've tried to find the water mill a number of times out there, and we're still looking. But now, see, because it belongs to the state of Ohio,
That's right.
and they don't want.
You have to be a little careful.
You can't
They
even
don't
pick up
people
a
out
piece
there.
of slag and take it home with you.
Yeah.
Out of the ground.
Right.
So it's kind of a.
It's tough. But that's okay because it needs to be preserved. We don't want
Sure.
people going and
Right.
stealing all the stuff, from around there. But also when you're trying to figure out the history of the place, it's kind of hard when you're not allowed to.
And it's really to me a remarkable thing that we have this treasure here in Jackson County, and it's
Agreed.
one of only 3 in the entire United States of America that's restored.
3.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And how many would there have been in the United States at one point? Do you have any clue?
No, I do know that.
Thousands, hundreds.
No, I'd say 400 or 500 maybe.
Okay,
But
and
during
there's 3 left.
but the Civil War, during the Civil War, Buckeye Furnace and all those furnaces just poured out iron for the Union cause, for cannons and so forth,
Okay.
And so they had a big role to play.
And
And-
Oak Hill, you know.
And you have to tell them about Oak Hill.
Well, you tell them. You're the historian.
Well, at Oak Hill, at Oak Hill, anybody that knows anything about the Civil War has heard about the sea battle between the Monitor and the Merrimack, the first ironclad vessels ever made.
Yes.
And the Monitor, the iron from the Monitor that was protected it was come from Jefferson Furnace at Oak Hill.
No way.
Yeah, it was
Think about that. That is
Yes.
so cool.
there is so much.
People do not know this much about the history of our area.
And we think this small book is going to be something that is really going to be a hit with people. Easy to understand.
And we have, or I should say, Mike has some more ideas. You know, we're thinking about doing a series of books such as this. You know, like with from a child's viewpoint.
Yeah.
You know, different areas of our
Hey,
county.
listen, we should all live our lives more through children's eyes. It would be a lot better place. But
Well, in my research, I discovered something recently that I can't. Now, this is not not given in stone, but at one time, the city of Jackson, when coke-fired furnaces began, there was, I think, 7 in Jackson, and on the outlying area. If that's true, I'm kind of standing by the fact that Jackson, as small as it was, had more iron furnaces than any community in the state of Ohio.
isn't that wild? You think about it, little old Jackson, Ohio, and it was
Yes.
booming back then, like booming,
right.
booming.
Oh, yes.
So so let me ask you this question. Buckeye Furnace, what they did there versus what like Globe did are completely different ways of creating iron.
And Globe and these coke-fired
So that was like the
later.
newer technology.
and,
Okay.
and much more. They would be putting, where Buckeye Furnace on a good day would put out 12 tons of iron. Globe, for instance, will put out probably between 200 and 300 tons.
Oh,
a day.
wow.
If you could see how, and of course out at in the store at Buckeye Furnace, there's some drawings of how they made the charcoal. I mean, it's with the mounds. I mean, and men. I mean, how dangerous it would be. That
Sure.
men are climbing those mounds of hot.
It's burning beneath their
Yeah.
feet. And
All to get that little slip of paper that had no value whatsoever.
Give me that-
Other than the company store.
give me that script, baby.
Gosh. Oh.
And that's and a lot of this is another thing that when you get the operation of furnace, and then think, well, what about making charcoal? It was incredible how involved that was and how specialized. My grandfather was a collier. That's what they called him. It made charcoal.
A collier. Okay.
A collier, and at Monroe Furnace
Oh.
in the southern part of the county. But it was a backbreaking job, and when they would get this all this wood, the trees cut down and split and everything, and then they would pile this in a certain manner. And then when they got this mound of wood done, they would cover it with dirt and leaves and everything.
Okay.
And they had a hole right in the very top part of this mound, and they'd start a fire, drop it down in there, and then the fire would start to spread. And what they would do, they had to control it. They couldn't let any air get to it, because if air gets in there while it's burning, it takes and burns the wood up and turns it to ash. So they would have rods poking through the sides, and they could tell when they were catching the fire because they'd poke the rod in. As they pulled it out, smoke would begin to come puffing out,
I see.
and they would know.
That's an art.
it was incredible.
To know what you're doing.
How did anyone figure that out?
That's what I'd like to know
Don't know.
too.
But it was a
Wow.
huge part of the operation. See,
That is so cool.
and the same thing with it when they found the iron ore. The iron ore had to be done almost the same way. They had to bake it and bake the impurities out of the ore before they put it in the furnace to turn to iron.
You just think about modern technology, and I mean, we as human beings had to do that back then, not a computer or
Yes.
an assembly line or a robot or human beings had to figure all of that out.
Didn't have
Right.
equipment.
No, not so much.
Right.
Had tools.
You had
not
leaves
equipment.
and dirt.
All the
You
latest.
cleared the hillsides of all the trees and all.
And see
man.
where Sean lived. I mean, he says in there where he lives there, and there's not a tree around Buckeye Furnace, for instance. They're all gone. They've been used for fuel.
There are now. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
a beautiful
Beautiful trees
area out there.
It is absolutely gorgeous, and I hadn't been out in a long time, and I was on a Jeep ride with a friend last year, and we just drove out past it, and I was like, "There it is! I remember now." Because
Yeah.
you just when you're not out there a lot.
Oh, they've got 3 new barbecue grills out there. That
Is it safe to talk about the shelter house? What's going to happen out there?
well, yeah, I think it's a dream, but
Well, I think it's going to come to fruition.
But there are so Buckeye Furnace. It is I guess would you say it's a state park?
It
Or
is
a state park.
It's a historical site.
So you can go out there, you can actually walk around, but you can, a lot of people
Picnic
take picnic lunches and take the family out there and
picnic
tour around.
tables
And you can see, you can walk. Can you walk through that now? I don't remember.
well,
You can-
I don't know. Is it?
the lower building there. That's the they call that the casting shed, and you can walk in there up to the front of the furnace, but the furnace is blocked off. You can't walk into the
Okay.
furnace.
I
It's too
remember.
dangerous.
Okay, all right. And but see, you can see there's a nice path there and everything, and there
It's
are
a-
grills and
It's
there
a
are.
beautiful.
Picnic tables.
Oh
and-
yeah, absolutely. James, you were out there not too long ago with the governor, right?
Yeah, it was. I looked it up a second ago, but now I don't remember. But yeah, it was last summer.
Well, the girls that manage the place out there, they are very good about. They have a lot of school groups,
Yes.
that will come out, and as you said, the Jeepers, they'll
It's a good Jeep, nice
yeah,
Jeep ride
yeah,
through there.
I know. Was it last summer? I think time gets away from you. I was out there helping in the store, and I could not believe the number of Jeeps. that
It's a
came. I mean,
thing.
it was astounding.
Well, and that was my first time to go to Moonville too. I'd never been to Moonville,
Moonville
which is a
Tunnel.
whole other story. But I'd never been out there, so we went there on that Jeep ride too. So yeah, and I think. Hey, if nothing else, Jeeps are good for, that
Oh, yeah,
because people,
yeah.
love places to drive and,
Yeah.
and they love to drive around and see neat things. So
And there's another small township road that comes off of the main road that passes through Buckeye Furnace. And it's not the best of shape, but it is drivable. But you can drive up that road, and that's where the cemetery, Buckeye Furnace Cemetery is.
there's a cemetery
Yes,
there.
yes.
Well, yes, as we, probably had some deaths from
Yes.
this, that, or the other.
Yeah. Well,
people
you've got
living
400
there.
or 500 people. You're going to die.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that brings up another subject I've never really read.
I wonder who paid for the funeral.
I don't know. Did they have to get out there a little Buckeye Furnace dollar there? And
I don't think at any of these furnaces, I've never heard anything mentioned about alcohol.
Oh, they're.
I
well,
really
I'm
have
just going to
not.
say if there wasn't, that was real sad.
They probably learned how to make it.
I'll bet they were making it. Hey, if they can figure out how to cook,
Yeah, that's
iron
right.
out of dirt and whatever, then they can
What
make
they
their
were
own
growing
booze.
in their gardens. and
Yeah.
stuff.
I'll bet they were growing something in that garden. But no, they had to have something fun to do, right?
Yes, and that's another good point. For years, there was no time off. It was 7 days a week. That's what they worked. But then at Jefferson Furnace in Oak Hill, where those folks there were all Welsh, and they wanted to respect the Lord's Day, and so they called it banking the furnace, shutting it down for all day Sunday.
Okay.
And that really worked out for such an advantage. People had time to be with their families and do things. All the other furnaces adopted that policy.
Okay, I'll give them that one then.
Yeah.
Very good. So, all right. So at Buckeye Furnace, you have that, but you were talking about the shelter house. So tell us a skinny about that.
Well, the girls out there, and Jim Meacham, who is what is his title out there?
I think you call him the
The
president.
president of Buckeye Furnace.
Okay.
They've, of course, Jan McKibben, she it's been a long time dream of hers, to have a nice shelter house out there with a kitchen, and restrooms.
Oh, would love that.
And they're really going after that.
Good.
Pretty-
You go, Jan.
And this shelter house is not just being. It wouldn't be created just to go ahead to set in. It's an instruction area where they can go ahead and have programs.
Oh, love that.
Yes, and seat, and then have food available. But you have to use real money, no script.
No script.
No script.
Don't be cutting it out this book because it's not going to get you very far.
But anyway, they have that, and then restrooms, and that's what
That would be fantastic.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, it's as Deanna knows, it's a tough sell. It's just
To get money and
those
it's-
and those people
Money
feel they just we're so far away
Yeah.
from Columbus.
Well, of course, because nothing good can happen if it's not near one of the big cities.
Red-headed stepchildren.
Yes, right here.
I used to call when I call Columbus about something when I was the president. They would say, "Buckeye what?" you know what you're talking about.
There is part of Ohio that's under Route 70.
But honestly,
And east of
as this-
71.
As this gentleman knows here, that was with the governor,
Yes.
I was really quite taken back by the fact he brought his family down,
Yes.
and I'm kind of aggravating Jan and Tammy and Jim about get some letters going to DeWine's office, and
Try to get some funding,
Yeah.
maybe in that
and in
direction.
just this week's paper, DeWine is proposing a $500 million
Correct.
historical. I think now's the time to
Yes.
jump in there.
Let's get some of that money. I
Yeah.
mean, because listen, if we don't jump up and down and get some of it down here, it's going to go somewhere.
Oh, there's no
And-
question about it.
We need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
Probably more than-
not like as you
Yeah.
said, the stepchildren down here that everyone forgets about. Like we are
And there's more
Part of
history
Ohio.
probably down here than anywhere.
correct.
Yeah.
We're not just a bunch of dumb hillbillies down here. Like I say that makes people mad, but I feel like that's like what people in Columbus think.
Well, that's it, and they get away with it when you ask them for money over and over, and they ignore you. It does appear that you're ignorant in a way, but it's not. But they're
Sure.
holding this purse strings,
But I do want to give credit to some of the fine folks that are making a difference down here, the Taylor Steps and Bryn
Yes.
and some of the folks that are working so hard to bring our area to the forefront.
Right.
So thank you to you all out there for what you're doing as well. So give Taylor a call. All right. So we haven't even gotten to the event yet. That's this weekend.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about that. So fun.
Mike and I are going to be out at Buckeye Furnace. We actually, from what I understand, are going to be under the scale house, which, when James brought it up, you could see the scale house in front of the company store.
Kind of looks like a shelter.
Yeah. And, right there.
Yep.
And so we're going to be signing books, and hopefully people will be buying a lot of them. And the money all of it goes to, to fund family-oriented programs out at Buckeye Furnace.
Out at Buckeye Furnace. And what would be some of the fun things? You guys do stuff kind of year-round out there, but what would be some of the fun things that you do that, the proceeds from this book would go to help?
Go for it, baby.
I know you do a big Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Halloween.
That's a big thing. Well, we haven't done Halloween for quite a while.
Okay.
That was always so much fun.
Yes.
But maybe we can,
And we have-
Stupid COVID.
Yeah.
And have the fall festival,
Yes,
out
that's
there,
the,
which is a
that's
really
the
big
biggie.
thing.
That's the biggie. It's
and they
fall
have a
festival.
couple other things planned this year they're always searching for new ideas.
Well, and
But-
they have too. A lot of times they'll do just like one day, events like what's that called? Early, early Jackson, things that a lot of times the scouts would be very involved, in those things, but they'd have people come out, and I know like Wilbur McCormick, he would be one who would teach people how to make rope.
No way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
And I cannot think of her name, the quilt lady, that the signal quilts, that they had back during the Underground Railroad, times.
Yes.
I cannot think of her name. It's an odd
Well,
name.
this past summer,
It's not Edie, is
they
it?
always have, merchants out there displaying their wares and selling them. And this year, didn't they have 40 some out there?
You mean for the fall festival?
For the fall
Yeah.
festival. I remember you had a ton of vendors out there.
yes,
So it's
yes,
growing
So
all the
neat.
time.
Yeah. And they're even thinking about making it a 2-day event instead of just the one,
Love
because
it.
it's just, it's so successful. And just so that you know, the first Saturday in October is when the fall festival is out there.
So make plans.
So make plans, right?
Now, when is the old company store open at Buckeye Furnace? It's not really called that
I
anymore.
think they've opened early this year. I think they opened last
week.
Friday. I think it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now instead of just Saturday and Sunday, from noon to 4, I believe, are the times. And
But you can anytime.
yeah, you can go out and look
And
around
walk around,
anytime.
yeah.
The
We'll go
store
around,
isn't
but-
open,
but
you
the
know.
store is so the
because they
hours-
work, So,
right.
mhm.
So it's kind of a volunteer basis out there running
Yeah.
the store.
Yeah. But, and not, in the store too, if you haven't been out there, not only does it have a lot of the historical artifacts and tools and things like that out there, but they have, a little room, over to the side that's got jewelry, ladies.
You had me at jewelry.
And, and other things. They, candles and books and kids things for kids, that what the kids would enjoy. They have quite a selection of things out there. So it's
Very cool.
It's kind of fun to be in there looking around.
Yeah. See, you can go shopping.
And
Yeah.
they've got a video that you can watch too that tells you how Buckeye Furnace came about and worked and all that kind of
Love that. But the best way to figure it out is
right. Buy the book.
to listen to Sean.
Yeah.
Because little Sean's going to tell you all of that.
Right.
And when we wrote
So
the book,
fun.
Deanna and I talked about it from the beginning, that we thought that no matter what we did, any effort we made, we'll just turn this over to Buckeye Furnace, and all proceeds, they get all of it. We don't get
That's so
anything.
nice. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure.
That's so good. And of course, you can get that this coming Saturday from noon to 4. And then you two will be out at Buckeye
Yes.
Furnace. So tell everybody how people get out there. It's super easy.
Yeah. Super easy. I suppose most people will be coming from the south. They go out 32 and
East.
east.
Toward Gallipolis.
You're the map guy. You go ahead and
Well, then
To 327, right? At
Well,
DW Homes.
124.
124.
Oh, 124,
on-
okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then immediately on to 327.
Okay.
yeah, that it just gets more convoluted. Yeah, it's just
In other words, Deanna, shut up.
Well, is there an address out there that people can put in their GPS?
Yeah, it's is it 123 Buckeye Furnace Road or Buckeye Park Road?
It doesn't say.
It doesn't say. I think
I
it's
think that's
it's
right.
123
What if I
Buckeye
put
Park
Buckeye
Road.
Furnace in my maps if it'll
She's right. It's 123 Buckeye Park Road,
Buckeye
Park.
Park Road?
Mhm.
I wonder
And
if I
it-
just type in Buckeye
and it shows
Furnace.
up as a Wellston address.
Yeah, but once you get on not 327, 124.
Yeah, if you just type in Buckeye Furnace in your maps, it comes up 123 Buckeye Park Road, Wellston. Yeah.
And about 3 miles or so out 124 after you turn onto there, you'll see, what is that road that goes out
Well, that's another
of
town. That's a
124.
township road.
Yeah.
You got a county road, you turn on, then you go township road. See, this gets more.
Yeah, it does get convoluted.
Listen, what I'm telling you, just put it in your maps and do what the lady says.
You know, we might just have to, in our next book, what we do with Buckeye Furnace, put a map in there.
That's true. That might
That
be a good idea. Mhm.
Yeah. How do we get there? It's a
Yeah.
tutorial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the scenery is so beautiful,
It
It's
really
gorgeous.
is. It really is.
It's
beautiful.
spring. Get out and drive around, you know?
Right.
and we're trying to make some inroads. We don't know what we're doing, but we're trying to make inroads on making it a stop for birders because of the intense amount of different species of birds.
Ooh.
And you know, there are places in, like, you're right, from Columbus north, they get busfuls of people to go out and sit
That's a
and look for
lucrative
birds.
business to get into.
And that would be a real, there's an eagle out there, and
Yeah, the girls saw an eagle out there.
Really?
yes,
Hey, that's worth the
yes,
trip.
yes, and it's just there's 265 acres
Wow.
there
It's
on
a big place.
yes.
Now, are there some trails and things out there?
Yes.
Or- okay.
Before
Cool.
you get to the furnace, there's a little parking lot on the left, and there are some trails that go back up through there.
All right. So you can walk, kind
And
of walk
there's
around.
There's a little, parking area, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
You know that you can go into. You can see it's not something that you just drive by. I mean, you can see that there's a little area there that you can park.
With the fence around it and
Yeah.
stuff.
Get the
So.
lay of the land.
Used to be a
See if you
sign-
can find a
used-
foundation somewhere.
Used to be a sign out there that said trails or something like that, but people can't leave anything alone.
Oh no. Uh-uh. That's
Yeah.
So I don't even know if that's been put up.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, that is so cool. So you can just put that in your maps. You can get out the Buckeye Furnace this coming Saturday. Pick up this book because all proceeds go back to the furnace to, kids things and all of that. But it also just gives you a great history about,
Yes.
How it all came
Yes.
to be and how it worked and all that.
It's a shame that that schools aren't allowed to have that in their curriculum. The Ohio history. Because I didn't know a lot about. He did because he's all about
because he
history,
knows all
but
about that
that's
stuff.
right. But and because I'm not from here, I didn't know most of what has gone on. Just one thing we're real fond of is the salt business. And of course, we got Salt Lake Furnace or Salt Lake Village. Now
Yes.
that we're building up. Down there by the depot.
Right.
And we're hoping to very, very soon have what would you call it? Not a model, but a scaled down version of the salt.
How they
furnaces.
did that?
Mhm.
Oh, you're kidding. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on, and it's, by the way, the other thing is we've never talked about the price of the book.
Okay.
And what we did was looked around, and if you go in I don't care, Walgreens or somewhere or Walmart and you go buy a greeting card, $5 or so.
$5.99. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't hardly get
They're
a greeting.
expensive.
Yeah.
So that's this whole book is we knew we had to make them at a fair price, and so anyway, we decided, and with the folks out of Buckeye Furnace as well, $6.95 is how much they are.
Hey, that's a price. That's a bargain.
Yeah, that's quite a bargain, and we're hoping that's going to be a draw too for children and for adults as well.
Love that.
And if I can just put a plug in for the Historical Society, if you might think about being a member.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you guys about that and what you all are up to. And
Our meetings are every third Thursday at the
Hocking Valley River
yeah,
Depot.
Hocking.
Where's that?
On
The
East
depot there
Broadway.
on Broadway.
You
Oh,
would have-
okay.
Right
At the
there.
Salt Lake Village.
Yes,
Yeah.
at the
Okay.
Salt Lake
Okay.
Village. Yeah. So, you know, come on in and, you know, check us out and see what's going on. And, you know, our membership rates are extremely reasonable. Like I think we've raised them finally after, I mean, we've been in business since 2001.
Mhm.
And we just now raised the price of a membership. I think a family is $30, you know.
Oh,
right, yeah.
woo, big
that's
spender.
Big spender. It was 25. Sorry. So, and a single, I think, is 20. Yeah, so, and students are, I think, still 5.
Okay.
So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow.
So, what are some of the projects that you all are working on? And I know you have the really cool house over by the park that you're redoing.
Yeah, that's been a struggle to get funding, you know, for that. It's still sitting there, you know, ready to be somebody to love on it, you know.
Yeah.
But,
So, what is the point of that? What are you hoping to accomplish by rehabbing that?
and that's the Price House, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what it's called, and it's because first thing is its architecture is so unique. It's the only home in Jackson that has double chimneys, as the old federal style, and on either side of the house. And it looks like it was built around 1854, something like that.
Okay.
And anyway, what we're hoping to do with it is to refurbish the whole thing, and then we can either use it for a meeting place, or if not that, we'll go with a museum in that house.
Oh, great. Okay. So, what is the story behind that house?
Well, I'll tell you what.
Or is that for another show?
Yeah, that's for another show, I'd say. Yeah, we've got. It's really what makes it brings it to the forefront is its architecture.
Okay.
That's
And
what
it's one of
really.
the oldest houses, you know,
In the area?
Uh,
Really?
So
Who knew?
again,
yeah, we people doing by it. You can see we've torn the front porch off, and but not to worry because we're getting ready to go ahead and rebuild the
back.
porch.
Yeah, we're going to put it back. It just wasn't safe.
Like it was.
It was pretty rotted.
Yeah. So it's and then the other thing, we were approached. I can't think of the name of the organization.
Pomeroy.
Huh?
The Pomeroy? No.
No. The Furnace. Oh well.
The Furnace.
Limestone Furnace, Deanna.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it that gave that to us?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, Deanna, who gave it to us?
Yeah, I'm supposed to
You
remember
know.
all this. You know.
There's
Joel Wood is on the, you know, if that's coming to you at all. I cannot think of the name of the organization, but
they're in
I don't know.
they have part of an organization that saves.
I'm gonna say Ohio Cooperative something.
Okay.
Yeah, something. Anyway, they approached us in one of the purchases they made, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Limestone furnace, charcoal iron furnace. It ended up being something they acquired,
Oh,
and they approached us about would we like to have it. So anyway, they gave us the furnace and 10 acres.
All that's there is the stack.
wow. And where is that?
It's do you know? Okay, they call it the CH&D Road.
Yeah, spent a lot of time out there
Okay,
at Royal Oaks. A couple of times.
when you turn off of Old 35 that passes, and you go down that way, what is it, like 3 or 4 miles?
It's about 7 miles out to the A&A truck stop. So you turn down that road, and you know.
And anyway, it's being well taken care of, and we have a sign out there around now, and we're planning things with it.
Oh,
So,
cool.
Like trails and.
do you
know,
do you have that picture that what's your name sent you? You showed me.
It's on my phone and it's in the car.
Oh, no. Anyway,
Well, jeez. How dare you?
I didn't know I was going to need that.
but it's
No, that's fun though.
Yeah, we've got a fellow. Actually, he's the one that's been doing the Price House yard mowing.
Okay.
and our Water Street lot, and he does a super job. Phil Myers, and it's just beautiful out there as well. I mean, it's a little more stark than Buckeye Furnace,
Sure,
because all
not
that's
as
out
much
there.
stuff
is
out there.
yeah.
and we're going to have several trails in the 10 acres. So
Cool.
that's being developed. So there's stuff going on all over the place.
Yeah.
Why is history important? It's isn't it just so cool if you think back? And I can remember being a little kid and being like, "What is it? Why do I have to learn history? It's so stupid. It already happened."
That's
Like,
exactly
why-
what
this
I
is
was
the
going to
dumbest
say.
thing ever.
When you're young, you think, "Oh, brother, who cares what happened
Right.
way back when?"
Yeah, who cares? They're all
Yeah.
dead, or whatever. Like, what does it matter? Well, duh.
Yeah.
But you know what? I guess irritates me is but no one ever gave me a reason why it was important.
Mhm.
It's important because it's
and
what
then,
made us.
And then you think too, when you're in high school, at least it was my experience, we had the most boring history teachers.
Well, you just had to memorize a lot of facts.
Yeah.
But you didn't understand why
Yeah,
it was important.
As I've told him, if he'd have been a history teacher, kids would have just been enthralled. They couldn't wait to get to his class,
Right,
because
because
he
it's a
just-
story. There's
Yeah.
a story there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really, you
About
kind of
us.
have to be
Yeah.
a storyteller, to get the, to get the attention,
Sure.
especially of children, So, but instead of just, well, memorize these dates.
Well, yeah. What does it matter what date exactly that Abraham Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address? The whole point is, why was it given?
Yes.
What did it
What
say?
did it say? And what does it mean?
That's right.
That's
right. Well, talking about presidents.
Not knocking any teachers. They follow whatever curriculum they have to follow. So, that's totally a whole other story we could get into. But
Well, in a recent discovery and things, people who are interested in history the name of Aaron Burr will mean something. He was known as he was a man who by one vote would have been president of the United States. He lost by one vote. And this is lost one vote in the selection from the House or the Senate. And anyway, he and Thomas Jefferson were tied on everything. And finally, when it was just on 25 ballots, they finally selected Thomas Jefferson over Aaron Burr. One man changed his vote. Well, Aaron Burr was furious. And there's all kinds of stories about Aaron Burr, how he turned against, if he did or not. That never was proven. But we discovered, that's Rex, my son Rex discovered in an article, discovered that Aaron Burr, after he'd lost the election, and he was trying to get a party together that would go ahead and conquer some of Mexico and start their own country.
Which would have probably been a pretty good idea.
Yes, and Aaron Burr.
hey, we'd have had some really pretty scenery in the United States.
And Aaron Burr, in this case, was apparently he was being tracked by special people from Thomas Jefferson because he was worried about what Burr's going to do. And Rex found a letter that explains that Aaron Burr rode all the way to Chillicothe, Ohio, and then following day he was at Scioto Salt Licks. That was here.
Oh.
And what he was looking for, we can surmise, was to hire men to be part of his army.
Sure.
It never happened. Think of that. Now there's a tremendous history.
And one vote,
Yes,
could
one
have changed
Mr.
the whole.
One vote of being the president of the United States. said he was here. It's just
That's so cool.
yeah. And people need to know these things.
And it's like whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like what we were talking about earlier about the company stores and all of that stuff. That's not meant to be negative toward anything. It's just
the way
that
it
was the
was.
facts,
Yes,
and
that's
that's
right.
the way it was. And you can, I guess, decide for yourself whether it was right or wrong. But
Anything that you have, I don't care whether it's history or, technology or whatever, it has to start here. And then you learn, hopefully you learn, and you go on, and it's the same thing with humanity.
Right.
You learn what you should or should not be doing. And
yeah, you learn about global pandemics when you have to be faced with one.
One of the chilling items at Buckeye Furnace, the store, I saw that the very first time I ever was in there when they were stocking it in 1972. And I looked up on this top shelf and I saw this thing. I said, "What is that?" And I ask Steve Henthorne, who was the curator out there. And he said, "Oh." He said, "Well, the child's casket." And it's still up there.
Is it really?
Yes. But it just goes to show you.
You don't think about that.
Today we wouldn't,
stuff,
you just don't think about that. But back then,
that was the one place that you had to buy stuff.
Yes,
And
that's
as
right.
politically correct as everybody is, you probably wouldn't even put it out there. Something,
Sure.
that people would be
Right.
going, "What is that?"
Yeah.
Right,
but,
freak everybody out.
You need to know these things, that, this was a hard life these
Yeah.
people had.
yes.
Yes, we're spoiled brats.
That's
Yes,
right.
we
All of us are.
Yes, we are. We have blessings we don't even think about. until
That's
you
why
don't have-
history is important.
Yes.
Well, and I read something a while back that was kind of very riveting, was the fact that before the Civil War, that almost 90% of the people that were brought up in rural settings like here never in their life ever traveled further than 10 miles from their home.
Wow.
Now think of that. They don't even know what's out there. So it's very difficult to put all this together.
Which makes me wonder, and this is totally off the subject, but you think about the fact of the Underground Railroad to me just it is since I was a little girl has always fascinated me, Harriet Tubman and all that stuff, because how on earth without the internet and cell phones and phones in general and all of this stuff did they organize all of that? And these are people that haven't been 10 miles outside of their
That's right.
homes. And how on earth
Well,
that ever came to be, I
when
don't
you
get
talk
it.
about
Brilliant.
history being important, not that this really has anything to do with being important, but you kind of think, well, back 100 or almost 200 years ago, people just weren't as smart as we are today. And that is not true. They probably had more going for them than because again, as you say, we're so spoiled. Something
It's
is
done
done
for
for
us.
us, and they had to really figure it out.
Well,
Correct.
and the thing is too.
And there wasn't a book that they had to
No.
read. They had to figure it out. Yeah.
But like on the Underground Railroad, they traveled only at night. Okay, so the only thing that was important was the fact that they knew where north was, because they knew that was going to get them to free territory, Canada. And anyway, they were taught that what they would do is learn where Polaris, the North Star, was, and that's what would guide them during the night. See, that's just very basic.
Wasn't there something? I'm not smart enough on this subject, but maybe those little lawn jockeys, that they used to have.
Yeah.
There was, I think that had something to do with the Underground Railroad. That there was some kind
That
of a
would make
signal,
sense.
when those were out in the yard.
Well, and the quilts, how did
And the quilts.
that message get passed
Yeah.
along?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
understand
Yeah.
following north. I totally
Right.
understand that, but they communicated through
Right.
those quilts.
That's exactly
that is
right.
insane.
Yeah.
That's why they called them signal quilts.
Yeah, and how did Who's the one that taught
Rushi? That was her name.
Yeah, Rushi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Rushi McAllister?
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's really it's fascinating when you get into it.
Yes.
I've done a lot of research on that, and one of the main Underground Railroad stops was at Berlin Crossroads. There
Yes.
was a number, and we've done a lot of work on that.
Very good. Well, we should come back and
Yeah.
talk about that since we're out of time
Yeah,
today.
he's got a physical therapy
Yeah,
session
we-
to get to.
We weren't supposed to keep them all this time. Oops. But no, this has been so fun and interesting. And come back and see us. But make sure you get out to Buckeye Furnace this coming Saturday. It's a beautiful ride out there. It's a beautiful place to visit. And if you buy this book, it helps with all the events that you all hold out there. So thank you.
And you'll enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely. It's very informational and it's a good time. So
And thank you for having us.
oh, well, thank
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, have a great day, everyone. And we'll be back here tomorrow with Mr. Speed, right? Yes, who will be performing at the Wild Turkey Festival. And they are the KISS tribute band.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, that's going to be a hoot. So, we'll see y'all tomorrow, everybody. Enjoy your day. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.